All right, well, basically, here it is. Pope Francis is calling for civil union law for same-sex couples in a shift from the Vatican stance. Now, he's saying that this is in a documentary film, okay, which I actually saw part of it. It was in Italian, but I saw the English translation. Homosexuals have a right to be part of a family. They're children of God, is what the Pope said, and have a right to a family. Nobody should be thrown out or be miserable because of it. Pope Francis said in the film of his approach to a pastoral care of that. Now, Jess, he said this, but this is contrary to what the church has always taught. And in practice, he's saying we have to do this, but he can't change the doctrine. So I think that what's going to happen, in my humble opinion, is he's going to say that this, and then a lot of people are going to use this to say, you see, it justifies me having a same-sex partner. And, last time I looked, they don't play tiddlywinks at night. So there's problems there. Now, Joseph Ratzinger said on June 3rd, 2003, from the Congregation of the Doctrine of Faith, and this was approved by St. John Paul II, whose feast day is today. He said, the church teaches respect for homosexual persons cannot lead in any way to the approval of homosexual behavior or to legal recognition of homosexual unions. That's what the church has taught. The common good, see, this is the key, Jess. The common good requires that laws recognize and promote and protect marriage as the basis of the family, the primary unit of society, legal recognition of homosexual unions, and placing them on the same level as marriage would mean not only the approval of a deviant behavior, that's what it is, deviant behavior, with the consequence of making it a model in the present-day society, but it would also obscure basic values which belong to the common inheritance of humanity. And he said this clearly, listen, the church cannot fail to defend these values for the good of men and women and for the good of society itself. Now, Jess, I'm going to turn it right over to you, but I want to make sure I get my comments from Bishop Strickland, who I chatted with this morning, Father Regis Scanlon, and other theologians, because I want to get their take to our listeners. Jess, did I set it up? Is that a fair statement? What's up at what the situation is with Pope Francis?
Yeah, and I'm just going to use in my common sense Catholicism.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's what I see as a big difficulty: is first of all, you have Cardinal Ratzinger, Pope Benedict, who's already spoken about this before, or Cardinal Ratzinger, and it was undersigned by Pope John Paul II.
That's right.
Under the office of the Vatican's Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. So that's the highest form of teaching. In other words, Terry, that's binding upon the conscience of Catholics, and it's very clear that respect for homosexual persons cannot lead in any way to the approval of homosexual behavior, or to the legal recognition of homosexual unions.
Right.
So now you have Pope Francis, who is saying, but again, this is in the context of a movie. This is not a magisterial teaching.
No, it isn't. It's his personal opinion.
Yeah, this is his opinion, and he's saying this within the context of a movie. And so I have to ask myself as a Catholic, do I listen to a magisterial teaching of the church, or do I listen to the Holy Father who made a statement on a movie studio as he's shooting a movie? What is more binding upon my conscience?
Of course.
Well, of course, I have to go with the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, letters undersigned by St. John Paul II and Cardinal Ratzinger. That's what's binding upon me. But let's not kid ourselves. A statement like that, that's why it's important for people to use what's called prudence.
Yes.
Because your words, especially if you're one with authority, you can scandalize the flock.
Absolutely.
You can scandalize the neophytes, the people that are just coming into the church. And so these remarks, here's this article I'm looking at here from CNA, Catholic News Agency. It says this. Pope Francis called for the passage of civil union laws for same-sex couples, departing from it admits it.
Yeah.
Departing from the position of the Vatican's doctrinal office and the Pope's predecessors on the issues. That's never a good thing to depart from the perennial teachings of the church. Then it says, the remarks came amid a portion of the documentary, so it's not being done by the chair or ex cathedra or from his teaching office. It's being shot on a movie set, okay? It says, The remarks came amid a portion of the documentary that reflected on pastoral care for those who identify as LGBT. Homosexuals have a right, he says, to be a part of a family. They're children of God and have a right to a family. Of course, everybody agrees with that.
Yep.
Nobody should be thrown out or be made miserable because of it. Pope Francis said in the film of his approach to pastoral care. Then he said, after those remarks and in comments likely to spark controversy among Catholics, Pope Francis weighed in directly on the issue of civil unions for same-sex couples. Now, so I'm not sure here, Terry, if he said this during the movie or after. He may have said it after the movie, where he says, what we have to create is a civil union law. That way they're legally covered. The Pope said, I stood up for that.
Yeah.
So my question is, I'm not sure whether he said that in the film. The film's called Francesco. It's a documentary on his life and ministry.
Yep.
Or if he said that after the film to people. It's the article is not clear when he said it.
Right. Well, you're going to be able to see it in North America on Sunday because it premieres in Rome on the 21st of October. I just want to mention that several theologians, like Bishop Strickland, we're going to be talking next Tuesday on this issue. He told me this morning early that he's going to put out a pastoral letter for his diocese in Tyler, Texas, which we'll discuss on the Bishop Strickland Hour, just reaffirming the perennial teachings of the Church. I want to add that Father Regis Scanlon, who's a Franciscan in Denver, Colorado, he's done many series on EWTN. He's famous as a theologian and the homiletic and pastoral review of the Priest magazine. He was the priest for dozens of years, answering questions on the faith. So he's well known. He's an elderly man now. We've had him on our show. He said this about the issue. He said, you know what? The Pope can't change divine law. And this is divine law. End of story. And so we pray for the Holy Father that he will be what Bishop Strickland said, the safeguard, the deposit of faith. And that's what the job of a pope is. And we pray that he will do that, because what's happening, Jesse, this is me speaking, the doctrine will not change, but practice. It's kind of like, my analogy, Jess, is you go to a priest and he says it's okay, like a priest told you to use contraception when you get married, that it's okay. But it's not okay. But here's the point. People are going to take this particular statement by the Pope, in my opinion, and they're going to say, you see, the Pope's okaying homosexual unions. And that now the church needs to get up. It's like a stepping stone to having homosexual marriage, so-called. That's my take as a layman. Maybe I'm off, but that's how I see it, Jess.
Yeah, and the article says here that in 2010, when he was Archbishop of Buenos Aires,
that's right,
that Pope Francis opposed efforts to legalize same-sex marriage.
That's right.
And so this is why this statement now is very problematic. But I'll tell you from a theological point of view where this goes off the rails. I'll tell you why. Because in Catholic teaching, there's a phrase that we use, avoid the near occasion of sin.
Exactly. Avoid
the near occasion of sin.
Well said.
If you're sexually attracted to another man,
yep,
and now you have, again, the highest office in the church saying, there's no problem, we should legalize civil unions. If you're sexually attracted to another man, you're not attracted to him because you like the way he washes the dishes or the way he parts his hair. Mm-hmm. You're attracted to his naked body. I hate to be so graphic, Terry, but and so by putting yourself in a living condition where you're going to be seeing each other nude, what's going to happen? We call that, a near occasion of sin. The definition of a near occasion of sin is putting yourself in such a place where you're always going to tend to fall. Okay, you're always going to tend to fall, and that's why Catholic teaching says we have to avoid those persons, those objects, or those situations that may cause us to fall, because you're attracted to them, and your disordered passions are going to be triggered, and you're going to end up, engaging in the act of sodomy. That's what people do when they're attracted. They come together, but the homosexual community, the way they come together is unnatural. It's called sodomy, and so again, Saint John Vianney. This is why the Cure of Ars, he would say that we have to take custody of all our five senses, all of our, not just our eyes. That's Catholic teaching. Take custody of your eyes, but we have to take custody of all our five senses because, as Fulton Sheen says, how does temptation come about? He says it comes about three ways. So you're two homosexuals living in an apartment. The first thing Fulton Sheen says is, number one, he says the demon puts suggestion. Suggestion. So you say, I wonder how he would look naked. Then the second thing Fulton Sheen says is delight. Now you're saying, wow, you're imagining this person naked. You're saying, wow, I'm taking delight in that. And then the third point, the third movement, Fulton Sheen says, of temptation is consent. Now you're saying, forget about keeping that in the mind. Let's just consummate the act. And so as a Catholic, by opening yourself up and saying, hey, there's no problem to this, you're it would be like, it would be the same thing of saying, hey, all Catholic men, hey, if you want to shack up with a woman before you get married, no problem. You know, we could legalize that. You guys are just living as brother and sister anyhow. Imagine, you know, it's just a brother-sister relationship. Go ahead and live with a woman before you're married. Terry, that, again, for a heterosexual would be a near occasion of sin.
Of course it would be, Jesse.